All right, so I wanted to talk about getting a good jazz tone out of solid body guitars. And I thought, which guitar would I use? I thought I would use the guitar and talk a little bit about my thoughts on getting a good jazz tone. I think you can get a good jazz tone out of any guitar, and specifically solid body guitars. A lot of people obviously can't afford arch tops or don't want to play arch tops because that's not really the guitars that they learned on. And so there are a couple of things that pretty much always hold true, or at least I would recommend. There are variations on the theme. So first of all, I think any good solid body guitar needs to be set up properly. So some things are more guitars and things outside of the player. The first thing is the pickups. That's very important to me. So more likely than not, a humbucker is going to give you a fatter jazz tones. There are exceptions to the rules. Like in this telly that I have right here, I've got Lindy Fralin, single coil pickups, and they sound really fat like a humbucker. But this is probably going to be your best bet, some type of a humbucker. What I would recommend, depending upon the guitar you have, is even doing a humbucker switch, a neck position pickup switch. The ones that I like are Seth Lover's Seymour Duncan 59s, Lawler Imperials, and of course 57 Classics. You can't go wrong with any of these pickups and stuff. So yeah, and so that's the first thing. Humbucker pickups, I would recommend and then switching it depending upon what you have. And then after that, I would recommend playing the neck position. So that's you're going to get the fattest tone out of the neck position. That goes without saying. The other one that you can control to a certain extent is the tone volume. Um, when I played and I was a little bit younger, I used to roll the tone back a lot. I don't roll it back as much, but you're going to get a darker, more jazz focused tone if you take some of the highs off of the guitar in and of itself. Another thing you might try, depending upon the guitar that you have, is control the volume with the amp, right? Get it to like that, and then back off a little bit on the volume of the guitar, and you're gonna end up with a little bit darker sound. So I've done that quite often and quite successfully. So okay, you've got the pickups, you've got working with the tone, rolling back, then you've got strings. 9 out of 10 times, I recommend 12s or higher, and I recommend flat wounds. Breaking the rules here because this one does not have flat wounds on, and this is like a freak of an instrument, which proves you can play anything off of anything. Let's just put it that way. You can play jazz off of any type of guitar, but these are still the factory strings that came with this, and I think they're like 9s or 10s. Don't ask me, but it works. But that also means that you can break the rules. So in any event, though, I do recommend things like putting Tomastic in Feld or Chromes, but Tomastics is what I recommend. 12s or higher. So I have Tomastics on just about all of my other guitars, and I'd say probably 99.9% of my guitars are strung with flat wound. So hey, it's tried and proven. So okay, so you've got the pickups, humbuckers, play in the neck position, work the tone a little bit to take off the highs, work the volume a little bit from that perspective as well. The other thing outside of that is the pick that you use. Because you're probably going to work with a string gauge of 12 or higher, I recommend working with 1.5 millimeter, which is probably DeAndrea picks are very, very good picks. I've done some videos on them. Um, and of course, blue chips. You don't want to go broke, and you will lose them. They're $45 for one pick. Wow, but they are very, very good. But I use DeAndreas a lot as well. So 1.5 millimeters, you can get them for, I don't know, $7 to $9, pack of like 8 or 10 off of eBay. All right, so you've got, and you do need a heavier pick. You just, there's no jazz guitarists I know that use like, a .7 pick or anything below 1, because the strings are typically higher and you want to drive that. You're not playing blues, you're not going to be bending and all that thing. And the other thing too about the gauges, I don't want to get into that whole debate, but about like, oh my God, I can't play it, it's too heavy or anything. The guitars can play with 14s on them. If you get the guitars set up properly by a luthier, your tech, you're gonna be fine. Okay, I've played guitars with heavier. My guitars are strung with heavy strings, and I'll go to other people's guitars, and I think that they're not playable. Okay, so it's all about the setup. All right, the next thing on this is the amp. So I'm going through a Milkman Creamer 20. You don't need a $2,000 plus amp or anything like that to sound good. Or the Henriksen, which is a $1,400 amp, the Henriksen Bud. I would recommend the DV Mark Little Jazz. So if I had to go out tomorrow and get another amp, that would be what I would get. Straight no chaser. They could be had between $300 and $400 used. New, $499, $500 around like that. So that's what I would recommend on that. So, and then the last thing that's gonna determine your tone is the player themselves. Period. So despite all of this stuff, like jazz and the way you sound is gonna be the way you sound. It's not all of the equipment. This thing defies all logic. It has a fat jazz tone. I got it for $300 during Cyber Monday or one of these things. Didn't change the pickups. This is a knockoff. I think they're voiced like 57 Classics. I've done nothing to this thing. Nothing at all. Never adjusted any action. It's never even gone to my luthiers. At some point, I keep saying I'm going to put like flat wounds, 12s or 13s on this thing, and then see what else it can do. So, yeah, you can play jazz off of anything, and it's not the amp. I've put it through other amps, so it's not. Yeah, so you have a cheap guitar and you put it through like I don't know, $2,000 plus tube amp, so therefore you're gonna get a great sound out of it. No, it's not the amp. And this thing plays like butter, stainless steel frets and stuff like that. So you don't need a lot of money to play music, man. I sometimes suffer from my midlife crisis or what have you, and I'm buying all this equipment and all that. And this is not a vintage guitar, what do you call it, channel or anything like that. It's about just playing guitar. So whatever is at your disposal, if you set it up properly, you're gonna be able to get a good jazz tone and learn the literature. And that's basically it. Practice, practice, practice. You don't need a 1945 or whatever L5 going through a polytone with 12 wound or 13, 14 gauge Tomasic fell strings. You don't need all of that stuff. So, yeah. All right then. What you do need to do, and I try to do, is practice and practice and practice some more. Thank you for watching.